In the twisted spires of Corsair, death is entertainment and survival is an art form. But on one fateful day in the Crucible arena, something happened that would shake the very foundations of the Dark City. A Corsair turned gladiator named Yvraine faced her final opponent, a priestess of Morai Heg. Both warriors fell, but only one would rise again. As Yvraine's life ebbed away, the nascent god Ynnead reached across the veil of death and chose her as its herald. The moment she opened her eyes, wielding the crone sword Corsair, she triggered a disjunction that flooded Comaroch with demons and changed everything. But this wasn't the end of her story. It was just the beginning of how one determined Eldar would unite her fractured people and offer them something they hadn't had in millennia: genuine hope for survival.
So she just appeared in Corsair as this legendary gladiator? That seems pretty convenient.
Oh no, not at all. Yvraine's path to that arena was anything but straightforward. She was born on craft world Bieltan, one of the most militant and rigid craft worlds in the galaxy. You know how Eldar society works. They follow these strict paths to avoid awakening their psychic potential and attracting Slanesh's attention.
Right, the path system. So what path did she start on?
She began as a dancer, actually. Can you imagine? This future herald of death started her life, creating beauty and art. But Yvraine was restless, always searching for something more. She transitioned to the path of the seer, becoming a warlock and diving deep into psychic mysteries. But even that wasn't enough for her.
Let me guess. She became a warrior next?
True. She joined the Dire Avengers as an aspect warrior, finally finding an outlet for that aggressive energy that had been building inside her. But here's the thing about Yvraine. She never quite fit the mold. Bieltan's rigid structure, their obsession with reclaiming the old Eldar Empire, it all felt too constraining for someone with her spirit.
So she left?
She walked the path of the outcast, which in Eldar society is a pretty big deal. She gathered followers and became a Corsair leader, commanding her own vessel called the Lanathrial. For a while, she had everything: freedom, adventure, a crew that respected her. But then everything went wrong.
What happened?
A mutiny. Her own crew turned against her, and she was forced to flee into the webway. Imagine losing everything you've built, everyone you trusted, and having nowhere to go except the most dangerous realm in the galaxy. That's when she ended up in Comaroch, the dark city of the Drukhari. And let me tell you, for a former craft world Eldar, this place is basically hell.
I've heard it's pretty brutal. How did she survive?
She did what she had to do. Yvraine fought her way up through the gladiatorial ranks, eventually becoming a succubus under Lady Aurelia Malis. The Crucible arena became her new home, and she became really good at staying alive when everything around her was designed to kill.
That must have changed her a lot.
Absolutely. The Yvraine who entered Corsair was already tough, but the arena forged her into something else entirely. She learned to read opponents instantly, to find weakness in any defense, and most importantly, she learned that sometimes you have to embrace darkness to find the light.
So what made that final fight different?
The priestess of Morai Heg wasn't just another opponent. Morai Heg is the Eldar goddess of fate and death. Her priestesses wield powers that can literally unravel your destiny. This wasn't just a physical battle. It was a clash between life and death itself. When both fighters fell, something unprecedented happened. As Yvraine lay dying, she found herself in a place between life and death, and that's where she met Ynnead.
I thought Ynnead was supposed to be born when all the Eldar died.
That's the traditional prophecy, yes. But Ynnead had been slowly awakening as more Eldar souls joined the infinity circuits of the craft worlds. The god was nascent, not fully born, but powerful enough to reach across the veil and choose a herald.
Why her, though? What made Yvraine special?
Think about her journey. She'd walked multiple paths, experienced the full spectrum of Eldar existence. She'd been a creator, a mystic, a warrior, an outcast, and a survivor. Ynnead needed someone who could unite all the fractured aspects of their race, and Yvraine had literally lived them all.
And the disjunction?
That was the cosmic consequence of her resurrection. When Ynnead pulled her back from death and granted her the crone sword Kavir, the psychic shockwave tore a hole between realms. Suddenly, Commorragh was flooded with demons, and the dark city that had seemed unshakable was in chaos.
So how did she get from newly resurrected Herald to leader of a galactic faction?
She had help. The Vizarch, a former Bieltan exarch who'd been disguised as an incubus in Commorragh, recognized what she'd become and joined her cause. Together, they escaped the disjunction and began spreading word of the seventh path.
The seventh path?
A new way for the Eldar to awaken Ynnead without requiring the death of their entire race. Instead of waiting for extinction, they could actively work toward their god's birth while preserving their people. It was revolutionary.
I bet not everyone was happy about that.
You're right. The first major test came when they returned to Bieltan. Yvraine had to convince her former craft world to embrace this new path, and it wasn't easy. Many saw her as a corrupted exile, bringing dangerous ideas.
How did she succeed?
In a way that shocked everyone. When Slaaneish's forces attacked Bieltan, Yvraine performed a ritual that shattered the craft world's infinity circuit, releasing millions of souls to birth Incarna, the avatar of Ynnead. She literally sacrificed her home to save her people. That's when the Inari truly began to take shape. Yvraine managed to do something that hadn't happened in 10,000 years. She united craft world Eldar, Drukhari, and Harlequins under a single banner.
How did she manage that? Those groups hate each other.
By offering them something none of them could achieve alone: hope. The craft world Eldar saw a chance to save their dying race without sacrificing everything. The Drukhari saw an opportunity to escape Slaaneish's hunger without giving up their power, and the Harlequins saw a new act in Segorach's great performance.
And then she helped resurrect a Primarch?
That's right. Yvraine played a crucial role in bringing back Robout Guilliman, working with Belisarius Cawl on Macragge. Her mastery over death energies was essential to the process. She even temporarily reversed Ahriman's rubric during the Battle of the Cadian Gate.
That must have made her pretty famous across the galaxy.
Famous and feared, she began collecting the crone swords of Moriheg, each one bringing Ynnead closer to full awakening. She led expeditions to recover lost craft worlds, infiltrated the Garden of Nurgle itself, and survived assassination attempts from both Slaaneish's demons and Asdrubal Vex's assassins.
So where does that leave her now?
In a fascinating position, actually. She's achieved more than any Eldar leader in millennia, but she's also facing her greatest challenges. The Inari coalition is showing cracks. Some Saimhan clans reject her alliance with the Imperium, and Vecht continues his shadow war against her forces.
And she still needs that final crone sword, right?
Exactly. The fifth sword is trapped in Slaaneish's own palace, guarded by Shalaxi Hellbane. It's basically a suicide mission, but it's the key to fully awakening Ynnead and potentially saving the entire Eldar race.
That sounds impossible.
Maybe. But remember, this is someone who died and came back as the herald of a god, united 3 warring factions, and helped resurrect a Primarch. If anyone can pull off the impossible, it's Yvraine. What I find most inspiring about Yvraine's story is that it shows how one person's refusal to accept limitations can change everything. She could have stayed on any of those paths, remained a dancer, a seer, a warrior, or even just another gladiator. But she kept pushing forward, kept evolving.
And now she's basically the last hope for her entire species.
In many ways, yes. But more than that, she represents something the Eldar thought they'd lost forever. The possibility of growth, of change, of a future that isn't just about survival, but about actually thriving again.
Do you think she'll succeed?
I think Yvraine has already succeeded in the most important way. She's given her people hope, and sometimes that's the most powerful weapon of all. Whether she retrieves that final sword or not, she's already transformed the Eldar from a dying race into a people with a future. And in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, that's nothing short of miraculous.
That's actually pretty inspiring.
That's exactly why her story matters. In a universe where everything seems hopeless, Yvraine proves that even death isn't the end. It can be a new beginning.
If you want to learn more about the Warhammer 40k universe, subscribe and check out the links in the description to read up on Yvraine or to get her mini.